So the first topic that I wanted to discuss was Mario Kart Tour being banned in Belgium due to loot boxes. Now, a couple of days ago in a video, I had actually discussed Mario Kart Tour and the problems surrounding the game, namely the problems with monetization. We know that Nintendo has had a very big problem in the past with monetization in games, especially in their mobile games. Nintendo goes all out with their mobile titles. They will monetize them in every way possible. And unfortunately for Mario Kart Tour, just to recap, one of the main problems was you could buy things like loot boxes for real money. You could buy real in-game currency with real money, and you could buy these loot boxes. There were characters in these loot boxes that even had a 0.3% chance of dropping, which is very low. But also, on top of that, what they did was they actually added in a subscription. So for $4.99 a month, you could purchase a subscription for Mario Kart Tour, which allowed you to have access to specific things, like specific characters and also specific racetracks, that is the only way that you could access them. And I thought this was greedy. When Mario Kart Tour came out, I don't think any of us really expected it to be groundbreaking. I don't think any of us expected it to be a full-fledged Mario Kart game. But it's still the fact that when a company like Nintendo releases a title like this, you would expect it to be good. You would expect it to at least be decent. Because it's the same standard with the AAA industry. Even if it is a mobile game, we have standards and we have expectations coming from large companies like Sony, like EA, like Nintendo. And that is not what we got. This game is definitely a very poor quality gameplay-wise, but just the way that they monetized it was awful. I am referencing a One Angry Gamer article. If you want it, you can just ask in the chat for it. The article starts off with, "It shouldn't come as a surprise that mobile games rocking popular monikers and microtransactions can make monetary units like there's no tomorrow. And if an unknown or known company is behind this popular franchise on mobile, then you can bet money is around the corner, much like Nintendo's case with Mario Kart Tour. The company is putting in so much money via microtransactions from Mario Kart Tour that they can afford to lose an entire country and walk away unscathed." And that is actually true. So when the discussions of loot boxes started, let's look back even in March. Nintendo actually had to withdraw some of their titles from Belgium due to the loot boxes because their games they kind of relied on loot boxes. They are given the choice to remove the loot boxes or to keep them, and they decided before they were asked to remove the loot boxes because of the ban, they actually just did what they thought was best, and they actually just pulled the games out of the region in total. And those Nintendo games were Fire Emblem Heroes and Animal Crossing Pocket Camp. This article says, back in April of last year, the Belgian Gaming Commission began investigating loot boxes across several popular games and determined that the randomized rewards were in violation of the country's gambling legislation. The verdict resulted in the loot boxes being deemed gambling and therefore illegal, underscored by a prison sentence of up to 5 years and a fine up to £800,000 for those companies that fail to comply. So back then, Nintendo actually did decide, instead of being in trouble, receiving fines, and also being told that their games couldn't be sold, they decided to, of course, take the high road and remove the games themselves. So they had removed Fire Emblem Heroes and Animal Crossing Pocket Camp from Belgium. A publication was picked up and this info was reported. Nintendo's Mario Kart Tour was released for iOS and Android on Wednesday, and despite all of its success, there has been some controversy over its freemium model, which that is the problem with the game. It's a free game when you download it, yet you go into it and you are kind of obligated to pay. And it says that has already been reflected in its availability in some regions. According to the Brussels Time, the company has opted not to launch Mario Kart Tour in Belgium as loot boxes are prohibited there. Players must pay a $4.99 a month subscription to unlock all of the content. Now, I do want to point out, players do not have to purchase the $4.99 a month subscription. I do want to make that clear because you do not have to. You can play this game very casually without actually paying that subscription. But unfortunately, you lose out on racetracks, you lose out on characters, you just lose out on a lot of content. And that is my problem with this. If this title did not contain things that you could buy or like a way to monetize content, I wouldn't be as bothered by it. I am someone that thinks there is a level of acceptable with microtransactions in games. I think that if you are going to monetize your game, if you are just monetizing cosmetic items that do not actually affect gameplay, that do not have, let's look at costumes, that do not have any stats to them, that do not affect you in combat or in gameplay, or if content is not locked behind a paywall, I think that that is acceptable. And even so, we have to look at things like games expanding in DLC. Obviously, DLC, it's content locked behind a paywall, but you are usually getting 5-10 hours of content. You're getting the expansion, you're getting content, you're getting areas, you're getting whatever it may be, but it's in such a way that you know you are getting your $10 worth or your $20 worth. And unfortunately, that just isn't the case with Mario Kart Tour. It is a brand new game, and it is a mobile game that they are monetizing, and unfortunately, they just didn't do it properly. Nintendo has an awful past with monetization and mobile games and subscriptions. They've never nailed it. And I've stuck by Nintendo, obviously, within the past, like, year and a half, 2 years, because they have vowed to not censor third-party titles, and I have been supporting them as a company. I have made my effort to support them and purchase more on their systems. I hate to say it this way. I am not as fazed with this because it is a mobile game. We've known for years now, with Nintendo trying to push their way into the mobile market, that this is how it is. This is how their business model is, but also this is how the mobile market is. Unfortunately, the mobile market, yes, it is untapped, I do feel, but it's untapped because companies just monetize things poorly. It's very minimum effort that they put into these games, and it's a huge return for them. The gaming industry has a lot of negativity in it right now, and surrounding it right now, especially with companies and how they act. And I was hoping for more, but at the same time, this is what I expected. I didn't expect them to do great with the game, but the game now is removed in Belgium. If you are a player from Belgium, unfortunately you cannot play this game, but you are not missing much. Unfortunately, this was not a title that was quality over quantity, so